Greetings, y'all. Welcome to another video. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite reggae acts, Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. The band is made up of brothers and sisters Ziggy Marley, Stephen Marley, Sedelia Marley, and Sharon Marley. They are the offspring, of course, of Bob and Rita Marley. And I got into reggae. My introduction to reggae was like 1986 when I saw the movie Club Paradise starring Robin Williams and Jimmy Cliff. And Jimmy Cliff did the soundtrack to the film as well. And I loved the soundtrack, had it on cassette back in the day. And that was sort of like my introduction to reggae. Then about a year and a half later, Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers put out their Conscious Party album, which it's not their debut, but it was kind of almost like treated like it was. It was sort of their big, like, the big push by a record label to kind of get them, success worldwide. And I bought this on cassette when it came out back in the day, and really loved it. And it's a great album. Chris France and Tina Weymouth from the Talking Heads produced the album, and they've got some guest appearances. I know Keith Richards is on a track or two on the album, but it's just great. I mean, this album sort of, was on the shoulders of the single Tomorrow People, which is an awesome song. That got a ton of radio airplay, lots of MTV airplay as well. But it's really a solid album. The other tracks on here, Conscious Party, Lee and Mali, New Love, Tumbling Down, and Have You Ever Been to Hell is another really good track. So that comes out 1988, does extremely well, very popular. Like I mentioned, that wasn't their first record. This is one of their earlier records. This is from 1985 called Reggae Is Now, but that's an alternate title. The original title of this album was Play the Game Right. And it's pretty good. I bought this, years later. I didn't have this back in the day. I don't really know that if back then I knew that Conscious Party wasn't their debut. I don't know that I knew that they had a few records before that. But I got this years later, not that long ago, maybe like within the last 10 years. But it's pretty good, it's got some good songs on here. Nah Let Go, Aiding and Abetting, Revelation, Children Playing in the Streets, and Reggae Is Now. Children Playing in the Streets is a song written by their father, Bob Marley. And so after Conscious Party came out, it was a big success. This was released in 1988. This is called Time Has Come. This is a best of collection compiling from 3 of their previous albums, Hey World, Children Playing, and Play the Game Right. I'm imagining this was on a different label. I think this might be EMI. I'm imagining this was made sort of to, piggyback off the success of Conscious Party, and they scrambled, put this thing out there to kind of maybe sell some records, since now the band is really popular. And it's good, I like it. Their earlier stuff it doesn't veer too far from, what they were doing in Conscious Party. The tracks on here that I like, Met Her on a Rainy Day and Give a Little Love, and then the tracks from Play the Game Right that I already mentioned, Nah Let Go, Aiding and Abetting, Children Playing the Street, and Reggae Is Now are also on here. So yeah, nice collection of the early years of Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers. So their true follow-up to Conscious Party comes out in 1989, One Bright Day. I love this record. It's maybe my favorite album by them. I bought this back then and listened to this thing like nonstop. I would listen to this album constantly, and I loved it. And it's really good, a really solid album. Nice booklet here with lyrics and everything. Tina Weymouth and Chris France are back producing this. I think Ziggy Marley kind of co-produces, so he's starting to work into that producer chair. But yeah, it's just a solid album with just phenomenal songs on here. You've got One Bright Day, Urban Music, When the Lights Go Out, All Love, Who Will Be There, Black My Story, Love Is the Only Law, Look Who's Dancing, Problems, All You Got. I mean, it's almost the whole album. I truly loved this record. When I got my record player and I was still in the mindset of like, I'm only buying my favorite albums, this is one of the first ones that I picked up. Love this record. So I love Conscious Party. I love One Bright Day. So you're thinking I'm all in on Ziggy Marley. I'm wearing a t-shirt. But the funny thing is, after that, you'd think I'd be like anticipating their next release, but that was it. I don't remember their follow-up hearing anything from it. I don't even know if I knew it got released because I really don't recall hearing anything from it. And I didn't own this. I didn't own this until much, much later. This is 1991, Jamaica. And I don't think the album did that well. I think it critically did okay, but the sales, there was a pretty decent drop-off from Conscious Party, One Bright Day to Jamaica. And I don't know what it is. I mean, the songs are decent. It doesn't stand up to those other two records as well, but it's a decent record, you know, but I don't know what it was. It was just instantly, the band was like off my radar as quick as they came onto my radar. You know, it was just really, when I think about it, I have no real reasoning behind that other than I just don't think it got a lot of airplay. You know, because those other two records, you know, they were getting played a lot by like alternative and college radio stations. So you were hearing all that stuff. And then when this came out, I don't know that they got a lot of airplay from that. But like I said, it's a decent record. A couple of tracks on here I like are Cosmic, Rainbow Country, Good Time, Wrong, Right, Wrong, and Small People. I think Small People was used for the theme of like a kid's show on PBS or something. I'm not sure. But decent. But like I said, it took me years till I picked that up. But the follow-up to that, 1993, Joy and Blues, I do slightly remember this one, like one of the tracks getting a little bit of airplay. But again, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just, you know, I heard the track from here and it just didn't blow me away. So I guess I just wasn't that interested in running out and picking up the CD. Again, back then, you know, used CDs weren't as readily available. You know, you still kind of had to buy them brand new or get them through like one of the record clubs or something. So, you know, the thought to go out, unless you were like really excited about a track you heard from this or something like that, to go out and spend 17 or 18 bucks on this, you know, like you really would have to want it. And I imagine that's kind of part of the reason why I didn't pick these records up till much, much later. But it's a good record. The tracks on here I like are Joy and Blues, Brothers and Sisters, X Marks the Spot, African Herbsman, World So Corrupt, and Garden. Brothers and Sisters is the track that I kind of remember hearing back then from this album. So then 1995 comes along, they put out Free Like We Want to Be. I don't remember hearing anything really from this, maybe one of the songs, but how I got this CD was I was signing up for like the 100th time to take advantage of the record clubs, 10 for a penny, whatever. And so I was signing up for one of those again and filling out the list, going through the albums in their catalog. I saw this and, you know, I was struggling to fill in like all, you know, 10 selections, and saw this and just said, oh, you know, I used to love Ziggy Marley. I'll pick this up. It's free, whatever, you know. So I got this from one of the record clubs, popped it in when I got it, and I love this album. I really, really love this album. It was sort of like a revelation. Like, yeah, that's right. I love this band. Like, why the hell did I stop listening to them? And it's just a phenomenal record. Like, all the songs in here are just great. And it just renewed my interest in the band, you know, or my love for the band. And whatever, there's all the lyrics. I'm not doing very well flipping the pages on it. But it's just a phenomenal record. Just like I said, it brought me back to the fold. The tracks on here that I love: Power to Move You, Free Like We Want to Be, Today, Live It Up, Hand to Mouth, Tipsy Daisy, Bygones. I love this whole album. Hand to Mouth is one of my favorite songs that they've ever recorded, by far. Just a great, great record. So like I said, I'm back in. I'm all back in. I'm a fan of Ziggy Marley again, and couldn't wait to pick up their follow-up to that, 1997, Fallen is Babylon. And this, lived up to my excitement. It's a good record. I really like it a lot. This one, they did like a cover of People Get Ready that was on here that I think got a little bit of airplay, I remember, on some of the alternative radio stations. But it's just, again, another solid collection of songs. On here, my favorite ones are Fallen is Babylon, Everyone Wants to Be, Postman, Born to Be Lively, Long Winter, Diamond City. Just a great, great record. So now that I'm like, phase 2 of my fandom for Ziggy Marley, their next album I couldn't wait to pick up. I think I picked it up the day it came out, 1999. We get Spirit of Music. Don Was is the co-producer on this one. And my memory is when I got this, I was a little disappointed. I was a little lukewarm on this one, I didn't instantly love every track on here. I just, it was just like, okay, it wasn't bad, but it didn't live up to those 2 previous records, in my opinion. But over the years, I've kind of grown to like it a bit more, but it's a good record, I think my anticipation was just not going to be matched. I just couldn't wait for this record, and it would have had to have been the greatest album of all time for it to live up to my expectations. Some of the tracks on here I like are We Are One, Beautiful Day, All Night, Higher Vibration, All I Need Is You, One Good Spliff, Let It Go, High Tide, or Low Tide. So that was that. And the follow-up to that was a live record, 2000 Live Volume 1. And like usually happens, there is no Volume 2. And that's a decent live record. I'm not big on live albums, so it's not like I've listened to this like constantly, but I've listened to it a few times, and it's not bad. All the tracks that you kind of want are on here, and they do a couple covers of their dad's songs, Jammin', Stir It Up, and Could You Be Loved. One thing, that's great hearing that I didn't mention is the sisters' like harmonies are just like other level. I mean, if you think of whoever you think of has just the most amazing harmonies, I know a lot of people think of the Beach Boys, like their harmonies are just phenomenal. I mean, it's like, otherworldly, whatever. I mean, I just love their harmonies. And 2000, they put out that live record, and then the band parts ways, I mean, they're brothers and sisters, they're still family or whatever, but the band calls it a day. I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is. I'm guessing that maybe one of the sisters just maybe had enough and maybe wanted to start a family, or just had enough of the music business, because that was the end of the band. But Steven and Ziggy go on to release some solo records. I have a couple of them. 2003, Ziggy Marley puts out Dragonfly. I think this is his debut solo record, and it's pretty good. It's not bad. The producer on this is Ross Hogarth, and I know Flea and John Frusciante from the Chili Peppers make some appearances. There might be some other guests on here I'm forgetting, but it's pretty good. I picked this up like the day it came out. I was pretty anxious, mainly based off of the debut single that was released for this. I think I heard that on the radio and just really, really liked it. It was called True to Myself. And I think that's what made me instantly pick up, because Spirit of Music kind of left me a little leery or whatever, or what have you. So when I heard True to Myself, I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. I like that. So it made me go out and pick up the record right away. Other tracks on here I like are Dragonfly, I Get Out, Good Old Days, and Didn't You Kill Love is another one. And I've seen Ziggy Marley live a couple of times. I never got to see the band live. I had one opportunity back in like the 90s when I was living in Los Angeles. They were playing the House of Blues on Sunset, and I remember I was like all ready to go to the show, and something happened at the last minute. I wasn't able to go, unfortunately, but I wish I had gotten to see them live. But Ziggy puts on a good show. It's a little disappointing because he seems to be playing more and more stuff of his dad's as opposed to like his solo stuff. And I mean, he's got a great catalog. I mean, I'm not going to say Ziggy Marley and Melody Makers should be on that same level as Bob Marley and the Wailers, but I mean, his catalog's great, you know, and I don't know why. I mean, I kind of understand why he's playing a lot of his dad's music, but it's a little bit of a bummer when you go see him live and he kind of neglects most of his catalog. It's a little disappointing. Anyways, the other solo record by him I have is 2011, Wild and Free. Now, speaking of Wild and Free, I bought a Ziggy Marley t-shirt online from the band and from Ziggy Marley, and this was just thrown in for free. I didn't order it, you know, or anything like that. They just threw it in for free. And it's kind of a wild, so that's the free part. The wild part is the digipack that is packed in. It's cool. I'm not a fan of this, but it's kind of cool. It's like a matchbook. You pop open, there's matches and everything. And then the CDs in here, which, you know, these kind of have a tendency to scratch things, which is why I don't like them so much. But here's the booklet. But it's not a bad record. You know, like I have a couple of his other solo records digitally. And, you know, they all have like one or two pretty good songs on them. But none of his albums have really like blown me away 100%. You know, I mean, they sound a lot like what the Melody Makers were kind of putting out, that kind of reggae, you know, music. But, you know, they're decent. The weird thing on here, too, is that, like I said, I got this for free, and he autographed the CD as well, which is kind of nutty, but it's kind of cool. But the tracks on here I like are Wild and Free, Forward to Love, and Welcome to the World. Now, Don Was comes back to produce this. Now, the weird thing is on Wild and Free, Woody Harrelson like duets with Ziggy, I believe, and I think that's him. And he also like co-wrote it or whatever. And Heavy D makes an appearance and stuff. But yeah, not a bad record. It's okay. And then the only other record I have, Stephen Marley put out his solo debut, 2007, Mind Control. Pretty good. I mean, it's a different kind of, like I said, Ziggy Marley's solo stuff seems to veer very close to like what they were doing with the Melody Makers. Stephen Marley is kind of like a little bit of a different vibe going on with his music here, you know. I like it, but it's just kind of like a little, I don't know, maybe if it's a little more roots kind of based, I don't know. But, you know, not a bad album. The tunes on here I like are Mind Control, Traffic Jam, Chase Them, and Hey Baby, which has an appearance by Mos Def on it. So that's it. That's all my Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers CDs. So let me know what you think. If you're a fan of the band, if you ever got to see them live back in the day. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you the next time.